Hi, everyone. My name is Deshni Devan. I've been an occupational therapist for 26 years. I run a company called Pain Coach, which involves mentorship of clinicians regarding persistent pain and pain. So I run courses and I teach clinicians basically about pain, either online or in person. And this is my podcast called Pain Bytes. And what Pain Bytes is it looks at the journey of people with pain, but specifically what we're looking for is the experiences, the lived experiences of people with pain and their insights, their pearls of wisdom, their thoughts on what actually helped them in their journey of recovery in order for them to overcome, in order for them to live lives with meaning and purpose. So today in our episode, I have Cheryl Solomon, someone that I've known for a long time, who has been a sufferer of pain also for many years. She has a rare autoimmune disease. It's cryoglobulinemia and Wegener's granulomatosis. I'm never great at saying those names, which she suffered with for many years, and she's suffered with significant pain. And when I met Cheryl, actually, she had a significant amount of pain and she wasn't coping, and she's now in a great space, doing really well. So I'm going to introduce you to Cheryl. How are you doing, Cheryl?
I'm good. I'm good.
That's
How are
great.
you?
I'm good. I'm good today. Thank you. So, Cheryl, we always start off just by providing a context for the people that are listening, just to ask you, you know, back in the days when things were really, really tough, I often call it the black hole, when you were in that space where it felt like things were not going to get better, um, that you didn't know where to go or where to turn, where the pain was all encompassing, it surrounded you completely. Just to give us an idea of what that felt like, and then we'll talk about how you move forward from there.
Okay. So, I went undiagnosed for many years, and I was in a very stressful work environment. It was stressful at home as well. I was traveling a lot, and I didn't really pay attention to any of my symptoms. So they just got worse and worse. Eventually I did see a doctor and I was misdiagnosed a couple of times and had to leave the country and to find the proper diagnosis. But during this time the condition kept getting worse and eventually got to a point where I had to use a wheelchair, and it was difficult for me because my job was very, very stressful. I mean, I can't explain. I was constantly traveling. The last year before I had to stop working, I was on 72 plus flights that in 12 months.
Yeah, so a
So
very
on and on,
demanding job. Yeah, a very
very
demanding job.
demanding.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it consumed my life. There was no time to breathe, really. And I started getting all these symptoms, a lot of pain, and I just put it down to the type of job that I was doing. And unfortunately, it got worse, and I became bedridden. And I had a lot of symptoms throughout my body. And these two conditions, like the cryo and the Wegener's, can affect you anywhere in your body. So I suppose I was lucky in that it only
Mm.
affected my feet, but unfortunately, it is progressive, so it's going to go throughout my body. And I've already started having symptoms in other parts of my body. Your blood vessels are everywhere, so it can affect me anywhere.
Yeah.
And I, for me, going from being so independent and traveling the country, going international, meeting people and really enjoying the job, enjoying the freedom of the job. Going from that to being bedridden and in pain and not knowing what was wrong with me because of all the misdiagnosis. And now in retrospect, I understand that autoimmune conditions are not that well known. It's not like
Yeah.
go to the doctor for the flu and you get antibiotics and then you're fine, 2 weeks
Yeah.
later. This is it's lifelong, it's chronic, it's not going to go away. And the desperation I felt after eventually coming to terms with the fact that it's not going to go away. It is lifelong. It is something that I'm going to have to deal with for, day in and day out.
Yeah.
Um, and uh, it felt like a disaster. It felt like, this is it. This is me now. And what do I do? How do I get out of this? How do I move forward? And I remember I was at a point. It was June 2016. I remember very clearly. It
Yes.
was very cold, and
Yeah.
the cold affects the condition. And my mom was here from Durban taking care of me, and seeing the faces of the people that love me and that I love being so blank and so helpless and wanting to help me and wanting to care for me and not knowing how was devastating. It was heartbreaking, and I couldn't look past that point. I couldn't see past the pain and the being completely isolated. I'm the only one that has this condition. Not even the doctors know what's going on. And I thought this was it. This is the end of me. And I asked my mum to call our priest. I'm Catholic, so I asked for the priest to come. And I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting the priest to say, but it felt like, okay, well, if my life is going to come to an end now, um, the only sort of uh, safety and uh, the only thing that would give me comfort is my religion and knowing that the priest was there and, I've done my best. And the priest came and he spoke to me and I cried the entire time. I, it felt like it really was the end. June 2016, that was it. I think it was the darkest point in this journey. I really felt like that was it. And so from there, during this entire time, I had not even got a proper diagnosis. I'd not received any treatment. Nobody seemed to know what treatment I was supposed to be getting. So it really was just uh, me being in limbo for this entire time, not knowing, and on top of all of that, dealing with the physical symptoms of and emotional symptoms of all of these conditions. Um, and for the next 2 years, I struggled with it. The doctor said, don't get up too much. You got to lie still. You got to, make sure that your feet are in a specific position to your heart, and so that your blood flows. And then the medication started, and I was injecting myself every day with blood thinners, taking blood thinners, going on biologics, on um, a lot of painkillers. And at that point, even 2 years later, the pain wasn't under control. It seemed to be getting worse and worse. I, was at risk of losing my feet up to my ankles. And so it was a really desperate, scary time, a dark time.
Yeah.
And um, after I'd gone to see the doctors in the UK, and they contacted the doctors here that I was seeing, and they sort of teamed up and put a treatment plan together for me. That's when I felt a bit more confident, despite having all the symptoms and not seeing any improvement. And I did have amputation surgeries on my toes at that time, still wasn't working. But I it gave me hope to know that somebody that was out there had information, had the knowledge of how to treat me, what to treat me with, and gave me some kind of expectation. I was told that my life was never going to be the same. I was told that I probably would not walk again. I was told, you know, invest in a motorized wheelchair, which I did do. And it felt like I was just up against a wall, like there was no way out. And at that point, I got angry. I got really upset with the situation, with myself, for just accepting everything. And I thought, this can't be it. This is just ridiculous. It's out of control now. I'm on all this medication. It needs to start working for me. And what do I do about it? And I started in my own way, without any guidance from anyone, not knowing what to do, what I could and couldn't do. I started moving and not being afraid to move, and trying to fight through the pain. And eventually I had to do research and find out what could help me with my pain. And I saw a pain specialist, and she put me on really amazing medication, and that helped a lot. So I started getting out of bed, into the wheelchair, trying to wheel myself around. And eventually I started, and I mean, eventually, this was like probably another year or so later of me trying to be more mobile. I started pushing the wheelchair, and it was my security blanket. Just, I was afraid of falling. I was afraid of walking and sitting down and standing up and
Yes.
getting, going to the bathroom, going to all of these normal things that we all take for granted. Like you sitting in a chair now and you want to get something, so you simply just get up and go get it. But for me,
Yes.
it was, I had to think about, how many steps is it going to take me to get to the bathroom? Am I going to be okay, have less pain to be able to get back to bed? Think about how
Yeah.
long it takes. It was awful.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's exactly what you say. We take for granted those little things.
yeah,
The ability to walk to the bathroom, the ability to go to the kitchen, the ability to get out of bed. We take
yeah,
it for granted because we can do it until we can't,
yeah,
right? And so
yes,
you were in that space where everything was so dark, where it was, I almost want to call it like a fear bubble, right?
yeah,
You were
yeah,
in a fear bubble where you were afraid of everything. You were afraid to make the pain worse. You were afraid of falling. You were afraid of making your condition worse. You were afraid that, something's going to happen to you and they're going to amputate your feet. Like there's all of these things kind of hanging over you, right? Everything was
yeah,
hanging, kind of going, if I put one step or even one toe out of place, I don't know what could happen. Anything
yeah,
could happen. And yet you were so brave, Cheryl. You were brave without intervention from anyone. So without intervention from a clinician, you decided, enough, I'm going to try. And you got into your wheelchair and you tried to do things. And that is incredibly brave. So the first question I usually ask people is what, when you were in this dark place, what was the first thing that got you out of there? And I think you've answered it already, but what would you say it is? Because I think you have answered it, but what would you say was that one thing that got you basically out of bed and
Yeah.
allowed you to
I
start trying again?
I don't know if it was just one thing, to be honest. I think it was a
Well,
few things.
something started it. Something started it, and then it led to the next and the next and the next, right?
Yeah. I just wasn't prepared to accept anything anyone was telling me anymore. I'd lost trust in doctors, I'd lost trust in people, in humanity, in myself, in everything. And I just got to a point where I wasn't prepared to accept that anymore.
So
I,
you said enough, basically.
yeah,
So it
I just,
sounds like the anger of
yeah,
being in this place where so much was taken from you, right? So
yeah, yeah,
the pain and your diagnosis and your condition had taken so much from you. I mean, you were a high-flying executive, you were traveling the world, you were doing amazing things, and then suddenly you had nothing. You didn't even have the ability to go to the bathroom by yourself without help of a wheelchair or, someone assisting you. So it was
yeah,
like everything had been taken from you. And I think there was definitely a deep sense of anger. Am I right? That no,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I did get really angry. I thought, and in that, this moment of being so angry, I thought about, I didn't know, nobody knew what the future was going to hold for me. There was no, usually if somebody's ill or somebody's going through something, you say, don't worry, it's going to get better and you'll be fine, you'll be back to yourself in no time. And all of that stuff didn't exist for me anymore. And it
yeah,
just, I felt it, you're right. I was angry because it was so unfair.
yeah,
Why? I was healthy. I was an athlete. I was, no
yeah,
issues. Didn't
yeah,
think anything, and I did take everything for granted.
yeah,
You like the one thing that I often think about now, obviously because it affects my feet, is for work, I used to love going and buying new shoes and, not caring about how comfortable they were, just that they looked great and that
yes,
kind of, and everything has changed now. So if I look for shoes now, it's not how fancy they are and how expensive and how good they look. It's about comfort and, are my feet going to be okay? Are they going to cut off my circulation? Is it, can I walk in them? All of these things, it's just, um, it's scary. And the other thing was age. People see someone younger in a wheelchair and they think, well, what's wrong with you? And I literally had people coming up to me in weird places like shopping malls and,
yes.
wherever, coming up to me and saying, well, excuse me, like, you're so young and you're so pretty and you look well. What's wrong? Why are you in a wheelchair?
Wow.
And for the first few times I was like, you're so nosy, like, like leave me alone. Let me
Yes,
deal
go
with my
away.
stuff. Yeah. But
None of your business. None of your business at all. Go away. Go
yeah,
on. Carry on shopping. Do whatever you're
yeah.
doing.
Exactly. And then, eventually I started just telling people. I just started
Yeah.
telling everyone everything. I didn't
Yes.
care how much detail they wanted. I was just
Yes.
telling them, I've got cryo, I've got Wegener's, these are the symptoms, this is how it affects me. And, I used to be in a wheelchair and
Yeah.
I take such great pleasure in telling everyone
Yes.
I was in a wheelchair for 4 years. I
Yes.
was stuck in
Yes.
bed for 4 years, and
Yes.
now
Yes.
I'm
Now look at you.
walking. I'm
Yes.
walking. I can I can take care of myself, and
Yes.
it's an empowering feeling. It's just
Yeah,
amazing.
it's such an
Um,
achievement, Cheryl. Such an
yeah,
achievement. So the things I picked up from what you're saying is that sense of anger, that sense of almost what I call injustice, you know, the unfairness of it. Like you had so much life and then it was
Yeah.
taken away from you by this
Yes.
diagnosis, by this condition, by the pain.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to move on a little bit from that. So the next question that I ask the people that come onto my podcast is basically, if you had to, of all the things, and there were many, many things, many strategies, I'm sure many people that helped you, there was a lot in your journey to get to where you are now. What would you say are your top three, the top three things, 1, 2, 3 things that you would say, these are the things that helped me to get to where I am now? And it's different for everyone.
Yeah. I, you know, I'd love to say it was all me. I did it all by myself, but I
It
absolutely did
was.
not. No,
It kind of
you know,
was. Okay. Yeah, sure. Tell us.
so I had no plan, no real plan, because I did not know what I was capable of. And the thing uh, that that stopped me from moving forward was my fear. I was
Yeah.
petrified of everything. You know, if
Mm,
I because all the information I was getting was so negative. You
mm,
know, if this happens, you could lose a leg. If that happens, you could bleed. If you know, like all of these medical things, all of these things that could happen, and
yeah.
so I was, and also not getting any guidance from anyone was a big thing.
Yes.
I didn't know, you know, I had no support, I had no motivation, um, and no education at all on
Yeah.
all of these things. So um, the biggest thing was you, and coming to you as an occupational therapist changed my life completely. I came to you in tears, lost, confused, uneducated, and and petrified of. I think my biggest fear when I came to you was if by chance you said, Cheryl, I'm so sorry, there's nothing we can do for you. You know, that was my biggest fear, because then I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to go back into this black hole and stay there and wait for the
Mm,
next thing. But when I got to you, you took the time and really listened to everything I was saying. And my biggest joy, my happiness came from the amount of support and knowledge and knowing, and the way you said, I understand that. I know. I can explain that to you. I can explain it in scientific terms. I can explain it to you in a way that you understand. And you motivated me. And that very first appointment that I had with you, when we sat down and we spoke, and you were sort of completing my sentences. And for me, after 4 years of being in a wheelchair and being stuck and in limbo, I felt like this huge weight was just lifted from my shoulders, and I could breathe because somebody's got my back. Somebody understands. Somebody can help me with this, you know, and not not say to me, oh, you know, I don't know what tomorrow's going to hold for you, but you know,
yeah.
we'll figure it out together. We'll work it out. And so that was amazing. And I think from there, that was my turning point, my life-changing point, was meeting you and sitting down with you, and the feeling of being understood, and and
Okay. Yeah.
is was
So
just
I'm just going to stop you there because I just want everyone to know that I did not tell Cheryl or Coach Cheryl to say these
no,
things.
she
And
didn't.
And I did tell her she's not allowed to mention that I was an occupational therapist, but obviously she didn't listen to me. But just to know that, yeah, all occupational therapists can do this. I am not better than any other occupational therapist, but I think it wasn't just, and also just to for the audience, it's not just me. Cheryl came to see me and my team, so I worked in a multidisciplinary team that saw people with persistent pain. It wasn't just me. She also saw a physiotherapist. She saw a psychologist. We had a whole team that saw her, and obviously her treating team as well. But what I'm getting from that number one thing that helped you, that you felt was your turning point, was the fact that you got support, and
Yeah.
then someone finally understood what you were saying and kind of said to you, I don't have all the answers. I can explain some of the stuff, but I'm here with you and I'm going to walk this journey with you. I'm not going to abandon you. We're going to go. It's going to be tough, but we're going to go together. That's kind of the sense of what I'm hearing from you that helped. That was actually what helped. And it could have been anyone. It didn't have to be me. It could have been anyone that gave you that advice that helped you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's absolutely. Going from being in limbo, completely isolated, not being able to get in any information. My only source of information was the internet, YouTube, and
Yeah. And that can
it
be a
was
scary place, eh? I think
very,
a lot of my patients often go to Google because I mean that's what we all do. We can't find
yeah,
something or we want to know something, we all go to Google or Microsoft or wherever you're going to get your information on the internet. That's where we go. We go to the internet and we try and find it. And
yeah,
unfortunately, the internet is a great place, but it can also be a bad place because it has varying levels of information. And as much as there is good information about things on the internet, there's also that information that can be scary. It's the information that sometimes isn't founded in science or isn't necessarily realistic or isn't actually backed up by proper evidence. And it's all out there, right? And then on top of that, there's probably also the pictures, right? And I mean, if you, I'm sure, Googled your diagnosis, you would come up with really horrific pictures of what people's feet and hands and God knows what else look like. And I mean,
yeah,
I think that when you have a condition where you don't understand what is happening to you, and then you go onto Google and you find all of these things, it then becomes even scarier because you start to think, well, that's where I'm going to end up. This
yeah,
is what's going to happen to me. And you've got no one to tell you, like, oh, no, 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 that doesn't happen to everyone. You
yeah,
know, actually, you can be okay. That doesn't need to be you.
yeah,
So I think without guidance, and many of my patients Google, and they often come, they come to us, me,
yeah,
other people that I know who are clinicians, they come to us already having gone through that process of researching it on the internet and
yeah,
have all of this information. And some of the information, like I said, is good, some is not so great. So I'm glad we talked about it here because nobody else has actually brought that up in my previous podcast. There is good information out there, but you kind of have to sift through it and you have to have someone that you can run it by to say, is this real? Is that
yeah,
really what happens? Like, I
yeah,
read this, like, can we do that? Like, is that possible? So it's great.
yeah,
Okay, so that was the first thing. It was
yeah,
having the support, it was having the understanding, it was actually the fact that someone got you, that someone got
yeah,
your story, that someone took the time to listen and say, okay, I see where you're at, let's see where we can go from here. That kind of gave you hope in that you thought, well, finally someone's listening.
yeah,
Finally, someone's actually going to make the effort to meet me where I am. I think it's about meeting you where you are and
yeah.
then moving forward. So
And
what would then, yeah,
I think what you just said just now is hits the nail on the head, is that I when I'd eventually decided to get occupational therapy and physiotherapy, I had lost all hope. I did not see any hope. I did not see any future. I couldn't see beyond the pain that I was in. And it gave me hope to sit down with people that understood me, and that understood pain and how how it affects you, you know, as a human being, as for in all aspects of my life. And yeah, it was such a good feeling, the understanding.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad that myself and everyone else that you worked with at that time, that we could be there for you. It was also gratifying for us to see how you went from strength to strength. I mean, you did so amazingly. I don't know what we were expecting. I mean, with my persistent pain patients, I try to not have any expectations, because some of my patients do really well and some, don't do as well. So I don't try to have an expectation. I try to actually see where can we go. And sometimes, we go wherever they need to be, actually, to
Yeah.
be honest. Yeah. So what was number two? What was the second thing that you think? Like, so if you say that was the first, what was like, going top three? And it doesn't have to be in order, but like, what's the second thing that you can think that really worked well for you and that might work for someone else?
For me, and I've always been this way, is that if there's something I don't understand, I try to get a better understanding of it by educating myself, by uh, trying to get more information.
Mm-hmm.
And they, going, having the feeling that my doctors and, you know, um, other people, my family, my friends, did not understand this. I mean, I didn't understand it. I didn't know what happened. I didn't know um, what was going on with me. But slowly learning, slowly understanding what was happening to my body, what was happening to my mind, um, together with seeing um, the, you know, occupational therapist, physiotherapist, and a psychologist, because a huge part of it was in my mind. Like I've said, it's about educating myself, because that, I think, also that's where my fear came from as well, is not knowing. It was completely unknown. And what was even scarier was that nobody else could tell me exactly what was going on. And even my Google searches and the videos that I watched online and stuff, it's not a set number or list of symptoms. Not everybody that has this specific diagnosis has a set list of symptoms. Everybody's different. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, talking to people online, overseas, I've spoken to people all over the world, and they might not have the exact same symptoms as me, but their lifestyles have been affected in the same way that mine has been affected.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I think the
The
second thing
knowledge.
was the knowledge, and that came from talking to you, talking to um, the team that was helping me, that helped me understand what I was going through and how to deal with my pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Knowledge is quite a powerful tool. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
And I think we always say when you know better, you do better, but I don't think anyone really knows that, we all say it, but I don't know if people really live it. And until you've
Yeah,
been in a situation like you, where everything is so dark and lonely and so fearful, and because of the lack of certainty, because of the lack of knowledge, when knowledge comes, it almost like shines a light, right?
yeah,
It almost like brightens everything, and you go, wow, I can see now. I can see where I am.
yeah,
I can see where I need to go. I can see maybe what might help me, but I have a few options, as opposed to being in this place that's deep and dark, lonely, fearful, and you just kind of, like, every day you're praying for something's gonna change. Something has to happen.
yeah.
So yes, I think knowledge is quite powerful. And what was the third thing? And it doesn't have to be like an amazing, an amazing discovery of what the third thing is. It can be simple things, but things that helped you, things that helped you recover in your journey. And it doesn't have to be stuff that we did to you or did for you. I'm looking for
Mm.
the stuff that you found really helpful, or that you kind of realized, oh, once you started doing this changed for you, or that changed for you, the things that you think really worked for you.
Yeah. Um, so I mean the the biggest thing for me was the education.
Yeah, so
Everything
that we've said, it's that we got you, that we gave you that support in the beginning, and we kind of went, oh, we can see where you are. Tell us how we can help you. We supported you. You kind of went like, okay, I'm comfortable now. I have a treating team who knows me, who knows what I'm going through, but also who has the expertise and skills to guide me to go forward. And I feel now like I'm safe. So it's almost like
Yeah.
we made you feel safe. And then your
Yes.
second part was, then you started to get knowledge from us, from the whole treating team, as well as your doctors, as you moved forward, to kind of go, okay, this is where you are. This is what you're going to do. This is how we're going to move forward. Let's see how we can go. So it was the knowledge that was number two. And then number three,
I don't know.
I mean,
Um,
if I have to think, just because I do know you and I know what
yeah.
happened, for me, the turning point was when you started to take a few steps independently.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Tell
Absolutely.
us what that felt like,
Oh,
that first moment, because I know how scary that was for you. So tell us what
yeah.
that felt like. Yeah.
I think, by that point I'd built up in my mind so much that, you know, and it was all negative at that time. I wasn't thinking I can do this. I'm fine. I'm good. I'm healthy. I can do this. I was thinking my feet are gonna let me down. I don't know if I can trust them anymore. I don't know if I can trust this body anymore. I don't
Yes.
know if I'm gonna fall over, if I'm gonna have excruciating pain, all of these negative things. But with every negative thought, you know, you the team taught me how to counter those negative thoughts with positive thoughts as well. So at that time, with this, I wish I could find a better word, but it was just so like an overwhelming feeling of fear, and then eventually taking the step and taking the next step and taking the next step. It was I could cry right now. It was mind blowing. It it just I couldn't believe it. It was so unbelievable for me at that time that you know I'm actually doing this. I'm actually doing this, and yeah, you because also the other thing is I'd sort of accepted that, okay, I might be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. And
Yeah.
I was learning to live my life that way by learning how to maneuver through doorways and get myself to the bathroom. And then here I was all of a sudden with this team of people motivating me and giving me the right information and helping me and literally holding me and showing me what I was capable of. It was freeing. It was,
Yeah.
yeah, it's such an overwhelming feeling, and that's how those negative thoughts sort of started subsiding, and I became a little bit confident every time. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So it's the
insane.
freedom, right?
Yeah.
Listening to you, what I can hear is that freedom, that sense of freedom, of liberation, that taking
Yes.
that first step gave you, because it's not
Yeah.
just about taking the first step, right? It was the
Yeah.
fact that you took the first step. And once you'd taken the first step, you looked down and your feet were okay.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. Nothing happened to your feet where things got worse. You
Yeah.
know, you took those first few steps, and they were painful and they were hard, and they were difficult, but you took them, you were brave enough to take them. Yes, you had a supporting team to help you, but you're the one who had to take the steps. We couldn't take, no one could take the steps for you. You had to take them yourself. So you took them. And then once you took them, it was this immense freedom, like liberation of thoughts, of feelings, of everything that must
Yeah.
have, I think, at the time also being overwhelming. So as much as the fear was overwhelming, I'm sure this like burst of like, wow, I can do this now. Look at
Yeah.
me. I can take a few steps. That must also have been, as much as it was liberating, it was also like, whoa, what just happened here? You know, I
Yeah.
don't know if I can cope with this emotion that's now going to almost flood your system. So it almost was like you had a
Absolutely.
flooding of all the feel good stuff as well. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's the, it's not um just one specific thing that had led to that point. It
Yeah.
was,
It's a number of
there were so
things.
many
Yeah.
things. And to finally, I still, even at that point, didn't believe that I was capable of standing up or walking or sitting back down again by myself. Like simple things. So yeah, absolutely. When it did happen, it was very overwhelming. And even at that point, even though I'd done it, I still had my doubts. I'm doing it here in front of the team of professionals that know what to expect, that know what to do. Am I going to be able to do this myself at home or anywhere else? And I think the journey from that point to where I am now, the biggest part of the journey was being motivated every time I saw the team and you, and learning how to motivate myself after that, and have confidence. Confidence. I had no confidence whatsoever, none at all. I'd lost all my confidence with, physically, emotionally, mentally, all of these things, had gone. So throughout that whole journey, from that point of taking the first step to where I am now, it's all of those things that have helped to get me to this point.
Yeah. Agreed. All of those things and more, actually. We don't have time to talk about and more, but
Yeah.
so to summarize, your top three was that somebody gave you support, listened to you, heard your story actually, and was able to then say to you, yes, this is where you're at, but we've got all this knowledge and we can tell you that it's not a hopeless place, that we can offer you something. We can't tell you where we're going to go, but we can offer you. And then from that point onwards, it was all the knowledge that you gained through that rehab experience with the team, with everyone that saw you, that helped motivate you and help show you that actually it's not as bad as you thought it was going to be. And then that final step, which wasn't really the final step, maybe we should rather say your first step of taking a step, of standing up and taking those few steps and realizing, number one, I have just walked. Oh my gosh, I've walked. But also, my feet are fine, my legs are fine, I'm fine, and I can do this. I might actually be able to go back to walking.
Yeah.
And just tell everyone how well you're walking now so that everyone can know how back to life you've managed to recover so that they have an idea. Yeah.
Um, so must I
Yeah,
say
just
what?
tell them where you
Okay.
are. What's a day in the life of Cheryl these days? What can you do
So
that you couldn't do before?
I mean, first of all, I made a lot of changes in my life.
Yes.
I thought about the things that made me happy,
Yeah.
and made the choice to surround myself with positivity, positive people, positive
Good. Yes.
environment, a calming environment that has less stress in it. And that was one of the biggest things that I'd done. And so Now, at this point in my life, when I wake up in the morning, I'm not thinking about pain immediately. It's not the first thing on my mind. Whereas, I was woken up by pain every single day for so many years. Now I wake up in a good mood, in a happy mood, in that I'm looking forward to the day. And I wake up, I enjoy a nice espresso and go sit outside on the patio. I greet all my animals, my pig, my 2 cats, my 4 dogs, my snake, my 3 geese, my 4 bunnies, my chickens. You know, that's these are the things that make me happy. All my animals and my garden, and just, this the sounds. And this is something also that I never thought about before in life, is what sounds you are processing as well make such a huge difference to you. And I've gone from living in the middle of the city with cars and taxis and, people and a lot of chaos, to waking up now where I hear the sheep. What sound do sheep make? Bawing next door, and the chickens crowing, and my dogs happy wagging their tails. And so, these are all of course the birds around me as well. So I enjoy that. I'm more appreciative of what I have in my life. Um, my family, my friendships, my everything around me, my home.
Mm.
And you know, um, I think I express more gratitude now
Yes.
for the things that I can do, because I can get up out of bed, have a coffee, take a short walk in the garden. I can drive. I can, which I never thought I'd ever be able to do again. I My immediate thought now is not, I'm a disabled person. I am a disabled person, but I don't like to behave as if I'm a disabled person. I am loving my new normal, my new life.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, I feel like I'm more capable now of doing the things that I want to do and love to do than I was 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and that's amazing. Well done. I have so much admiration for your journey and your courage, honestly.
I have
So
appreciation and gratitude to you, really.
not to
People
me, remember, it's team. It was the team. And I
to the
always say
team, yes.
this, the team. And I always say this to all the patients that I've ever treated, is that we can help you as a treating team. We can help you. We can help you, but we can only help you 50%. 50% can be us helping and supporting you. The rest is
Yeah.
up to you. You got to bring it. You got to bring that 50%. And if you don't bring it, we can't help you. It's always a partnership. It's never us pushing or pulling. It's always partnership. We walk with you, walk next to you. We're not going to push you from behind, and we're not going to pull you from the front, because that never works. So before we finish, what I would like to ask is the final question, which is, if you came across or were faced with somebody who was in that deep, dark fear bubble space where they're afraid to move, afraid to do anything, afraid to get out of bed, where they don't think they're going to survive this pain experience, what would be the one thing you would tell them? The one piece of advice you could give them in that space? And they could be anywhere in the world. So just, because this is hopefully going to go everywhere in the world. So what would you tell them? What would be the one thing that you would tell them, that you would be like, this, this could help. This is what you should do.
Gosh,
I know there's a lot, but
yeah,
like, what would be the
there's a
one
lot.
thing?
I don't know. It's difficult to choose one thing, but um, sure. I can tell you what I wished
Someone had
someone
told
had
you?
told me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
is that, you know, not to lose hope, because hope is so important. It's so precious. It holds a lot more weight than belief in my mind. You can
Yeah,
say, believe in yourself. You can do it. You can, just like how the team said to me, you're going to walk in a year. You're
yeah,
going to be okay. Believe it, motivate, blah, 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 all of these things. But have hope. It's a simple, selfish thing that you can have for yourself is hope.
yeah,
And, and with hope comes belief that you can do it. Then comes motivation, and eventually, a less pain and more happiness in your life. So I
yeah,
think I think hope is so important, really.
yeah. I agree with you. Hope is really important. It's just unfortunately it's difficult to hope when you are in that rough space, right? And in the fear bubble. But you're right. If you can find a way to hope, I'm pretty sure it unlocks a few doors for you, for sure.
Yeah,
Or it unlocks
absolutely.
the most important door, perhaps.
Yeah,
And I think maybe just to emphasize, and because I know you, I can say to the people listening that you still live with pain on a daily basis. It's not
yeah,
that your pain has gone away, but you have managed to strive, to thrive, and to find a way to live your best life despite
yeah,
all of the functional limitations you still have. Because you still have impairment, you still have difficulty walking, but you're able to be functional in your daily life, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
And that for me is success. Uh,
absolutely.
and I think success looks different for everyone, but for you, I think you're living your best life and you are successful. You have all these lovely animals, you have your lovely garden, you have the freedom to be you, which I
Yeah,
think you haven't had for the longest time because of your
yes,
diagnosis and because of pain. So for me, anyone who can go through what you've been through, which is kind of going to hell and back, and still come to a space where you can say, I wake up in the morning and I'm happy. I wake up in the morning and I'm looking forward to my day, despite the fact that I know at some point I will feel pain. I've
hmm,
kind of taken that pain and just moved it to the side. It's there and you go like, hello, pain, I see you. I'll deal with you later. I'm first going to just go have my coffee, chat to my
yeah,
animals, look at my garden, and then I'll come back and we can talk.
yeah,
It's kind of like having a different conversation, right?
absolutely. That's exactly it.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's a different, completely different mindset. It's, I think when people are, or I'll talk for myself, but when I
yeah,
was in that situation, I felt like I was in the center of this, tornado around me all the time, and you can't see past it.
yeah.
You can't, yeah,
It's horrible. Yeah,
it's awful. Yeah,
yeah. But look at you now. Well done.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's thank you, thank
No,
you.
no.
Really,
Thank the team. Thank the team.
thank the
So
team. Yeah,
thank the
it's
team. Exactly. So I want to say thank you very much for sharing your story, for sharing all these things that helped you, because I'm hoping that someone will listen and it will help them. Um, so any last words that you'd like to say to anyone listening, or we can end now? Yeah.
I think, and this is coming from what I see online with the groups that I'm part of with people that have the same condition as me. and across most of the groups is just a lack of knowledge, and I see myself in those people, because for 3 very long years I was uneducated. I had no idea what was happening to me, and the physical pain is coupled with the pain of not knowing and
Mm,
asking questions. Whoever you come across, you're a doctor, can you help me, these are my symptoms. Or eventually people go online and they ask in the groups, well, these are the things that are happening to me right now, does anyone know what I can do?
mm,
And it's so important. What I would like to say to people out there that are feeling hopeless, that are feeling lost and isolated, and you know sitting in that unknown, in this vortex of just in your head all the time, and struggling with pain, is stop don't stop being curious, don't stop asking questions, don't stop trying to do
mm.
something for
I
yourself,
agree.
make
Don't
yourself.
stop trying.
Don't
I
stop
think that's
trying.
so important. Don't stop
Yeah.
trying. I think a lot of people give up. That's quite
Yeah,
important.
absolutely.
A
I
lot
mean,
of
I
people
I
give
was
up.
I was one of them. Yeah, I was so close, on that edge of just, I called my priest and that kind of thing. So
Yeah,
I was there. I know what it's like.
yeah,
And so it's so important. Don't give up. Don't stop trying. Don't stop asking.
yeah.
And don't feel afraid of putting yourself out there, because it's somebody might know. Somebody will find the answer
Yes,
that you're looking for.
absolutely. Agreed. Thank you so much for your time, Cheryl. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it, and I appreciate your sharing of your very deeply personal story.
My pleasure. Thank you for
Okay,
allowing me. It's awesome. Thank you.
great. Thank you.